Agatha and Thomas Perkins, who died in the plane crash on I-195 rather, Dartmouth last week, were laid to rest in Newport yesterday.
Meantime, the investigation into how the plane crashed continues, and we're hearing for the first time the 911 calls that came from people on the highway as it happened.
Erica Ritchie live in Dartmouth right now for more on these calls right near the crash site this morning.
Yeah, guys, good morning. You know, drivers were confused at first when they started making the calls right after the plane landed on the highway right behind me here on 195. They reported it as an explosion, a fire, a car crash. But really what was so impressive to me as I was listening to these 911 calls was how calm all of those drivers were given what they just witnessed. Here are just a few of those calls.
I'm on 195 right now.
Okay.
I just saw behind me an explosion. I believe it looks like fire and a lot of smoke.
911 recorder line, where is your emergency?
Hi, I'm just calling because I work at Dartmouth Building Supply, and it looks like a plane just crashed on Reed Road.
And of course, this was the scene they were reporting. The plane went down 5 minutes after taking off from New Bedford Regional Airport last Monday morning. The National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration continue to investigate what happened, but we do know that Thomas and Agatha Perkins of Middletown were the only two on board. Thomas was the one flying. Both were laid to rest yesterday, leaving behind 2 kids, 3 grandkids, their family business, and a legacy of giving back on Aquidneck Island and beyond. Now, there was one other individual, miraculously, guys, that was injured when that plane crashed on the highway here. She was taken to the hospital and released later that day. Interestingly, a man who says he's her grandfather just drove by where we are a short time ago and said he wanted to report that his granddaughter is doing great today. So we were very encouraged to hear that. Coming up next half hour, we're going to hear from another 911 caller who was critical in arriving on this scene as he drove by at the very time that plane came down. He played a huge role in helping first responders prepare adequately for what they were about to step into. We'll have that story 30 minutes from now. For now, live in Dartmouth, Erica Ritchie, 12 News.
For the first time this morning, hearing 911 calls that came in moments after a small plane crashed on I-195 in Dartmouth 10 days ago. Erica Ritchie live in Dartmouth this morning, and one of those callers got out of his car and got up close to the wreckage trying to help, and you have obtained the recording of that call this morning. Erica, what's the latest?
Yeah, Patrick, that caller was a paramedic. He told the dispatcher he was on his way home from work when that plane came crashing down on 195 behind me here in Dartmouth. He kept the dispatcher on the line as he walked over to and approached the cockpit to see if there were any survivors he could help. Take a listen.
There's no way we can get into the cockpit.
Okay, is there any active fire?
Yes, there is.
So there's no way to get to the people in the cockpit, sir?
No way. No, they're sealed. I don't think anybody survived.
That paramedic said the windshield of the cockpit was completely blacked out, so he couldn't see inside. And as he indicated, the aircraft was still on fire when he got there, so he could only get so close until fire crews arrived. But this caller provided the most detailed information of all of the 911 callers, helping prepare first responders who showed up while he was still on the line with the dispatcher. Of course, we now know that Thomas and Agatha Perkins of Middletown were on that plane on October 13th. Thomas was the pilot and somehow crashed on the median of 195 in Dartmouth near the Reed Road exit where we are this morning, just 5 minutes after taking off from the New Bedford Regional Airport. Now, guys, we still don't know what happened on that Monday morning at 8:15. That's up to the National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration to try and determine. Once we have more details from them, we'll be sure and share it with you. In the meantime, we can tell you that the Perkins were laid to rest yesterday in Newport. That's the latest. Reporting live in Dartmouth this morning, I'm Erica Ritchie, 12 News.